mood to make some pea leek soup today. So I thought I'd show you how I do it. So the first thing is, how do you clean a leek? When they grow, they kind of come up through the soil and lots of dirt gets in between all the layers. So you have to clean them pretty carefully. So there are two ways to do it. One way, I'm just going to cut off this little part right here. One way is to make a cut, like you could cut it in half. I'll do that, I'll cut it in half. Sometimes I don't cut all the way through, but well, I can already see dirt in there. So sometimes I just cut it part way like this and just run water. Sometimes I just cut it completely in half. I think I'll do that now. Yeah, see, there's lots of dirt in there. Okay. So I'll do this sort of two ways. I'll show you how I do it, just running it under water. Let's see if you can even see this over this far away. But I sort of just, get in there and kind of clean it. This is a pretty dirty one. Not unusually dirty. Okay, let's say I cleaned that. Then I would slice it up. Another way to do it is to cut it up first, like cut it in half or in just a whole, and then put it in some water all chopped up and let the dirt all fall to the bottom. So I'm going to try that way. This first outer leaf looks pretty tough, so I'm just going to figure that's going in the compost. Ugh, that's so dirty, I got to rinse it a little bit. I mean, there's no point making this any harder than it needs to be. So I'm gonna, there's no real strict way to do this. Maybe I'll do it like that first, and then notice I'm doing my standard way of cutting in that I make a claw with my hand, tuck my thumb behind, and then I'm just going to cut some thin slices. And because, leeks kind of are in layers anyway, they fall apart, which is good. So what I'm going to do, try to do mostly the white part or the light green part. The dark green part is just too tough. And this is awfully dirty. But I'm hoping it's all going to come out in my technique here. And sometimes I just start to get rid of the outer ones. Ugh, so dirty. Yeah, so dirty. Oh yeah, dirt all over my cutting board. Because it doesn't really matter too much how I cut these, because what I'm going to do is I try to make them all about the uniform size. Maybe I'm cutting them an 1/8 inch wide or something. Okay, I'm getting to the tough spot here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to saute this. Oh boy, there's a lot of mud. I'm going to just saute these in a little olive oil just till they get kind of soft and weepy. Wow. And then I'm going to add some peas, and then I'm just going to put it in the blender. And that's going to be it. Okay, so I'm going to fill this with water, and I'm going to put all these leeks in here. Now, I never really had a recipe for this. I just put some leeks in, I put some peas in. If it's too much leeks, tastes like leeks. That's great. If it's too much peas, if there's such a thing, then it tastes like nice sweet peas. So I've never had this go wrong. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm kind of letting it, stirring it around a little bit. Water's getting a little murky. Oh yeah, this is kind of dirty. But I think this way works pretty well. I might do it again just to be extra sure that I'm not making dirt soup. Okay, I'm on my second rinse. I should point out that you don't want to just put the leeks in water and then pour the water off, because you may just be keeping some of the dirt in with the water. This way it's, you know, if you use a strainer or something, you can lift this out and then the dirt will stay in the water. What I'm going to do now is put a little olive oil in there. Oh, what did I put in? A teaspoon and a half maybe? And I'm going to put on the flame kind of medium high. And I'm putting in all of those leeks that you just saw me chop up. And stir them around, make sure they get nicely coated. And I think I'll put in a little bit of salt, maybe a little more, because that's really the only seasoning that's going to go in this. So the thing with leeks is you don't want to burn them. So don't walk away from the stove, don't turn it too high, just keep moving them around. So when these get nice and limp, starting to smell nice, I'm going to put in some fresh peas. Now my plan was to go to the farmer's market, because I've been seeing English peas in the pod, and since it's spring, this is the time for them. When I went to the farmer's market the other day, they didn't have them in the pod, so I can't show you how to take them out, but they did have them already depotted, shucked, I'm not sure what the word is. So less work for me. And so I'm going to throw them in there with a little bit of broth. So the broth, you could use water. I've made this with just water and it's fine. I just happen to have some leftover broth from when I blanched some vegetables earlier today. So why not do that? I think you can see that they're starting to get limp. I tried to keep them sort of the same size, and when I was kind of closer to the root, maybe you saw it was a little bit, it was like a little dense piece. I chopped that up a little smaller. But the idea is to just get them all kind of limp. And they're getting there. See, they're staying pretty moist. The salt that I put in is helping to kind of draw the moisture out of them. And this is about the part when I want to walk away, and this is exactly the part when you don't want to. They're starting to smell really nice, and they all look pretty limp. So I'm going to turn it off for a second. There, I saw some little renegade thing. Okay, so here's how the peas came. Isn't that nice? So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna first put the broth in. Don't ask me how much I put in here. Maybe, I've probably got a couple cups, but the thing is to not put in, I'm not gonna put it all in just yet because my plan is to put this in the blender. And you don't want to have too much liquid in the blender. You can always add liquid. It's hard to take the liquid out. You have to cook it down, and that's a drag. So I'm just going to let this come to a little boil. I've got it kind of on medium-high heat. It's starting to get a little boil going. I have these peas. Oh, see, they're not as good as I'd hoped. When you shuck them, you can kind of see when there's bad ones. I'm going to figure it's going to be okay. So, pour the whole bag in there. Funny looking one. So, peas only need to cook for a minute or two. And then they'll be ready to put in the blender. So this is pretty fast. I didn't think you needed to see me put the peas in the blender. You probably don't even need to see me watch the peas in the blender. But what I do is I often put a towel over the top, right, because there's a little spout. I don't want it to go flying and make a mess. So I'll start out slow. By the way, notice I didn't fill this all the way to the top. If I put more water in, this would have filled all the way to the top, and then I would have for sure have had it flying around out the spout. So, just wanted to tell you that. I'm gonna blend it. I like it pretty smooth, so I'm gonna blend it up. I've only done this in a blender. I don't know if it'll work in a food processor. You could try it. My experience is that things don't get as creamy. So I'm gonna put this back in the pot now. I'm gonna show you, oh, that's kind of just about the consistency I like. One thing about soups, if they get not enough liquid in them, they're sort of like eating pureed vegetables. It's really not what I'm going for. I want it to be kind of liquidy. You know, soup-like, not stew. This is right at the edge. I think it could maybe even be a little bit thinner, but I'm gonna taste it. Okay, not the sweetest peas, but I think what it needs is salt. So I'm putting in a couple of pinches. And I'm going to put in a little bit of olive oil too. And probably when I serve it, I'll even drizzle a little olive oil on it. I think it needs a smidge more liquid, so I still have some of my broth. But this is the critical point, you know, like this is where you can wreck a soup or make it sing. And I think you just have to season it a little bit with salt. In macrobiotics, they say when you put salt in, you should let it cook in for about 10 minutes. I've got this on a really low flame, simmer. But it's supposed to be easier on your kidneys if you cook it in. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna dish it up. I wanted to put a little garnish in my pea leek soup. I haven't figured out what's best, but lately I've been using these little nasturtium flowers, which are completely edible, and I just pick little pieces off and tear them up and put them in the soup. So hopefully that'll help you. I also used some umeboshi vinegar at the end. It's tart and salty, and it just gave it just the little thing it needed to make it sing. Hope that helps.